Hello everyone! Welcome to season 4, episode 2 of the Christel Crawford show. I'm your host, I'm Christel, and if you're brand new to this show, I am an Access Consciousness certified facilitator and an entrepreneur and a person whose life has been totally transformed by the tools of Access Consciousness, which is why you will always hear me talking about them and why I've created this show as a support to those of you guys that are out there creating your lives and really looking to have a different possibility with living and everything. And this week's episode number 2 of this brand new season, I called How Talk to the Entities Changed Everything for Me. And I see you guys joining live. Hey guys. Hi Marcella. Hi Kavita. So if you guys are pretty new to the tools of Access Consciousness, Talk to the Entities is a specialty facet of this big body of work. And I wanted to do a show to sort of tell my story because I'm a Talk to the Entities facilitator, which means I can facilitate this specialty. It means I have a capacity with entities that I've acknowledged and I've claimed. But for a very, 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 very long time with Access Consciousness, I made this class really irrelevant. And one of my most viewed videos on YouTube is the time that I cleared my mother from my body and everything changed. And I could probably do a series of like 20 different videos on the time that I cleared the 8-year-old from my, I probably should do that actually. I probably should do a series of just stories on the time that I cleared that ghost and everything changed. But I was talking to my team about this yesterday because I have an intro coming up, and you know the classes are given an intro and then the beginning class and then the advanced class, and you can go on to facilitators. But to be honest with you, about 2 years ago, this class really just wasn't on my radar. Like, here's the thing, when you first get into Access Consciousness and you take a foundation class, and if you've never taken that class, you won't really know what I'm talking about, but you receive some tools around facilitating and working with entities. Now, my very, very, very first foundation, that was the weirdest part of the class for me, honestly. Like, I'm not a very woo-woo person, and I grew up very religious, and like then after religious was like very Christian. So the entity conversation for me was a strange one, and I can go into that in another video. But anyway, you do leave that 4-day class with like a bunch of tools to facilitate different scenarios and change the energy. And so I took those tools and kind of unbeknownst to me used them a lot, because here's the thing about entity awareness is that it shows up like all kinds of things. So entity awareness, hey Patty, hey Harish, nice to see you guys. Entity awareness shows up as all kinds of things. Entity awareness shows up as anxiety. Entity awareness shows up as physical pain. Entity awareness shows up as depression. Entity awareness shows up as suicidal tendencies. Entity awareness shows up as eating your face off and you feel like you're eating for more than one person. You are. Entity awareness, it shows up in like all these different ways. And a lot of us are walking around as a multiple occupancy hotel with like different beings in our body. And we wonder why we can't get a clear response when we're trying to get our awareness. And we wonder why we wake up and we feel like shit. And we wonder why we have constant headaches. And so it's useful to know that, hey guys, this is a thing, you know, the entities exist. You're aware of them. Here's how it could be showing up for you. And you may just want to ask some questions. Like, instead of downing 2 Tylenol, maybe ask, hey, am I aware of entities? So that was super helpful. I got that body of tools in the beginning and in foundation. And I know I'm not going to go into a lot of those tools in this video because I really want to tell you my story. But I will tell you that if any of this is starting to ping you, you may want to actually check out a class, because it will give you the tools to deal with some of the stuff that's going on in your life. Listen, all mental health issues, entities. All schizophrenia, entities. All suicidal entities. So is what you're dealing with what you're actually dealing with, or are you dealing with something you haven't acknowledged yet? And everything that is times Godzilla when you destroy and create it all. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, all the insurance, boys and beyonds. Okay, so, and that's the clearing statement. If you're brand new to that, you can go to theclearingstatement.com and check that out. here's the thing. All of that stuff is life-changing in and of itself. I cannot tell you how many times in a session that I use an entity tool and it changes the whole session in like a minute. But what Talk to the Entities really changed for me was it gave me access to this awareness of and communion with all of consciousness. Now, if that seems irrelevant, I get it. But here's what changed for me. One of the things that we talk about in, oh gosh, I don't even know which direction to go first with this. When I got really into, I started taking a bunch of Talk to the Entities classes. I was really asking the universe to show me what receiving was for me. Now, again, if you're really fluent in access consciousness talk, receiving is like the conversation. It's like, it's not, you don't have a money problem, you've got a being, receiving, perceiving thing going on. So receiving is like the thing you want to start to get, is because the way the universe works is you ask and then you receive. So if you cut off receiving and you're trying to ask for shit, guess what's not going to work? Like, your whole life is not going to work. I'm so glad you're coming to foundation. Yay. And yeah, if you guys need a foundation class, I have 2 more online foundations, and I don't think we're going to be doing any more after that. They're all going to be live after that, which is awesome also. But if you're far from me and you want to do an online foundation, I have one in September and one in October as of the recording of this video. So you can check those out at accessconsciousness.com/Christel Crawford. Also, I have Talk to the Entities intros, and I'm getting very distracted, but it's fine. So I was asking the universe to show me what receiving was for me. And the thing that kept like hitting me in the eye was Talk to the Entities. And now listen, I've taken over 100 live access classes. I'm an access consciousness junkie. This shit changes my life so dynamically, so fast. I'm aggressively going after total awareness. So, and I had never really fully chosen these classes. So when it kept pulling me, and like literally I felt like I had pigtails and it was just yanking my head down. And not only that, but it pulled me to become a facilitator of the work. I don't know what the word is. Shocked isn't the word. I was annoyed. I was like, seriously? Like, I just felt like the universe was like my buddy standing right here, and I was like, seriously? So I resisted it while choosing it for like hi, nice to see you, hi folks. I don't know, for like 4 months, but then, you know, the dates were slowly coming for the facilitators training and the advanced training, and I had to create the money if I was actually gonna go. So it kept getting closer and closer, and I was finally, it was shit or get off the pot moment. And I finally looked at it and I was like, oh fuck, okay, fine, because it wouldn't leave me alone. So I flew to Paris, and I actually probably in the space of a month took about 7 entity classes, because the prerequisites included like, you know, all these telecall series, and then I had to take this advanced class and then this facilitator class. So I did a crash course in entity awareness. And it was, so I was listening to all these telecalls, and I was washing myself in the subject material and in the, you know, the reality that like, there's nothing to be afraid of. In fact, it's our choice to be dominated by this, and we either choose to be dominated by it or we become the dominant entity. And I'm just being, you know, all this information about walk-ins and, you know, entities that inhabit houses and spaces and demons and all this stuff. And then I'm sitting in, hi Maruna, I'm in Paris, and it's like day 2 of the advanced Talk to the Entities class. And Shannon is taking us through some sort of receiving exercise, and I just feel my whole world melt. And it's really, really hard to describe like a melt with words. Like, you have to really sort of perceive it. But you gotta understand, I guess, that I have spent so much of my life like girding my loins for battle. You know, my life had been so intense and so required so much strength and so much courage and so much fearlessness in the midst of trembling, you know. So I got really, really good at force and control and, you know, hard work and all those things that don't require any receiving. It's like, and you can create life. You can create a life from that. But the thing about that way of living is that the thing you're always missing is you. And the thing you're always missing is the support from everything around you, because you're not open to it. You're closed. You're a closed unit that's trying to function as if she's alone when she's not, which takes so much energy. And so I'm sitting in this advanced class and doing these receiving exercises and tapping into all the support and all the team that I have, and literally just sitting there just crying, melting. All my fight melting, all my barriers melting, all my control melting. And for the first time, I got a sense of what I had always known throughout my life that had shown up in different ways. And that was the beginning of a complete shift in what I got the gift of these classes were. So I then took facilitators right after that, and then during facilitators, I think it was when Shannon told us that there was going to be a Beings of Light class in Italy, and it was, I don't even know, I don't remember the timing. I don't remember. Paris was May, maybe. I think I said July, and then Italy was like 3 months later or something. So it was going to be another trip to Europe for me. It was going to be a stay near the castle. It was in Italy. So it wasn't cheap, but I looked at that class and everything in my heart was just like, I have to go there, you know, like I have to go there. And it always makes me cry when I talk about it, because what I got access to there was what I have always known to be true, who I've always known that we create with, what I've always known that I was here to expand and bring more into the world. And that class totally transformed me. And since that class, and then this year with the renewing of my facilitator's license in the advanced class this year, I have just finally gotten access to me. Now, that seems an unlikely result. At least it did for me, seem like an unlikely result from a class called Talk to the Entities. But here's the thing about when you invite yourself to the possibility that you have awareness that goes beyond what you can see or touch or taste, and you have awareness of all kinds of things that nobody out there gives any credence to, right? Maybe some of the weirdos in the world, some of us wacky people in the world. I wasn't actually one of those wacky people, by the way. Turns out I was, but I wasn't, you know. Maybe some of the psychics and the mediums and all that stuff, you know, are out there, are talking about this stuff. But they're, you know, like, I didn't grow up with conversations about, one, that I was aware, and two, that I was aware of a variety of things. And so I grew up at the effect of everything I was aware of. You know, like I remember walking into school, high school. School was brutal for me. School was like dying. I just distinctly remember, especially when I started going to high school. I was this little tiny, big glasses, long hair, nerdy little thing, and super smart, super musical, with this face, but not like power that I am now, you know. I was totally like, had no confidence. And so I was the worst of all worlds when it comes to social and kids, right? And I remember very distinctly like approaching the doors of my high school and just dreading it, and opening those doors and hearing all the kids inside and walking into that energy and just feeling like I was just gonna, I don't even know, shatter apart with all the awareness. And for most of my life, I just thought I was terrified. You know, I thought I was, I didn't even have a word for it. I was just constantly stressed. And it was right here, and you can feel me pointing to this area of my body. Like, I was stressed in this area of my body in a way that I can't even articulate. And I was stressed at home, and I was stressed at school. And there was a lot of shit going on. I mean, obviously, like, high school is a really stressful place, but why? Does anybody ever look at why? And so, you know, socially and in this reality, we talk about how school is stressful because you're going through and you're trying to individuate and find your own way, and kids are mean, and, you know, you have all these pressures from home and school. And so we attribute all these reasons to why school is intense, which doesn't change anything and doesn't empower the kids at all and doesn't do anything. The reasons don't do anything. It's like, I guess if reasons made things better, maybe there would be a good reason to do a reason. But, you know, they weren't correct. And that's the thing, is when you hit the thing that's correct for you, it will lighten up. So anyway, so like the sensation of walking into high school, and when I look at it now, and I ask myself now, like, how much was I aware of? I get this rush of information, you know, like the number of entities, forget like just other energies and points of view and judgments floating around a high school. The number of entities and demons and points of view and judgment, like, it's staggering. But we weren't, you know, you're not given that information. And so, okay, and so that piece. So let's leave that piece over here, right? Let's leave that piece of like 99.999999999% of everything that goes on in your world isn't yours. Not only isn't it yours, but it's awareness of things that people aren't telling you that you're even aware of, right? So that piece. Then let's go to, there's a way the universe functions, actually works, that we're not shown. There's an ask and receive reality that got hidden somewhere in the Bible, that because it was so hidden in the Bible and then it got lumped into religion, those of us who did religion throughout, because it was like, well, that's in the Bible and I'm doing consciousness now, you know? There's a reality about the way things actually work here that we're not shown. We're taught to put up your barriers, pull up your bootstraps, and work hard to have what you want to have. At least that's how we were taught in the States. That's a very American, like, get to work, bitch. Go dig a gold mine. You want gold? Go mine them hills over there. Grab your pick and your boots and your hat and like start a mine, you know? So you want a new life? Trek out across this unknown country, get scalped by Indians possibly, and like start a settlement over there and probably die. That's, you know, American reality. Instead of like, what would it take for this to turn out greater than I could possibly imagine? I wonder what's available that I haven't considered. I wonder who or what would love to support me, and then calling upon all the support in the universe, all the beings that have your back, all the teammates that have your back, all the molecules that support you, you know, that's different. So that piece was never told about that. This other piece where throughout my life, I had pockets where I tapped into, or I was aware of, or I was an energy that was softer, that had access to a softness. And when I look at those, when I look at that thread, because I can look through my life and I'm curious about what your life is like, I can look through my life and look at, yeah, that time when I was 11 and I was at this property, hi Jenny, in Northern California that's stunning and really well taken care of. And yes, I was at this property and I knew and I could see and I could talk to the fairies there. Weaving to this other time on that same property when I walked into the building where we usually held the religious services, and at the very front of the room were two photos, one of Saint Germain and one of Jesus, and I was always drawn to Jesus. There was a warmth and a caring there. Woven into that next time when I was about 17 or 18 and I had found this incredible charismatic Christian church, and I had for the first time a communion with the being of Jesus, you know, and it changed my life, and there was a warmth and a communion there. You know, fast forward to a time when I was about 25 and I was in Bible school, and the pastor there was like, you know, you want to commune with God in your heart. So I would spend mornings and just be. Turns out I was communing with beings and being nurtured by, nourished by these incredible beings of light, which I called God and Jesus, and who were with me always. You know, fast forward to the time when I found Access Consciousness found me, and I'm sitting in my first energetic synthesis of being class with Dane, and I'm listening to him talk, and I hear this warmth and this kindness, and I'm like, that's me. Like, he's me, you know? And so these periods of communion and recognition. And so when you fast forward to last year, when I'm sitting in advanced and then in the Beings of Light class, and I'm just tears running down my face of like, I have always, always known. I have always been in communion with. I have never been afraid. I have always known. And for me, the reason, I guess, that has changed everything is, one, I've gotten access to a space of peace, the peace of joy and the joy of peace. Gary Douglas talks about that I never had before. And it's interesting living as that now and creating as that. You know, my business has totally changed. Money is so easy now. Class creation has totally changed because I'm no longer trying to do it by myself. I'm asking and I'm receiving from all the beings around me who are bringing people. And, you know, I'm asking, hey, can you guys show me like where the possibilities are for money today? And can you just bring me money? And it shows up always. It always shows up. To like every single day, I'm doing this thing called office hours, which initially I thought was like, you open your office for a period of time and then they can bother you for that period of time, and then you shut your office doors and then they can't bother you anymore. That's how I originally thought office hours was. But it turns out office hours is this period of time in a day where you can actually lower all your barriers and just receive the download from everything that's around you, and it just makes everything greater. So I changed that this year, and literally every day I spend 10 to 20 minutes a day just like receiving the download from everything around me. If things need clearing, I clear that. If things need acknowledging or, you know, communication, which is just instantaneous because that's how entities communicate, I do that. You know, I be with the beings of light. I create from and as that space then. I didn't have access to that before. And it's one thing to create a life from hard work, and another thing to truly live. Like to truly live, to truly enjoy, to truly like get the gift that you are, to truly, truly have you. And it's not that I have me in every second of every day, but I have access to it now. And the moments I go into insanity or like, you know, some sort of reaction, I recognize it now. And now I have a reference point for the space of me that goes beyond that, that gives me access to a peace that I didn't have access to before. Whereas before I didn't have that. So for me, and I just wanted you guys to have this, you know, at some point I'll write my spirit awareness journey, because it's so full and it's filled with these periods of time and living where without those beings, I would have died. I literally would have died. Like there was a nourishment and a nutrient-dense reality with those beings that kept me living. And that's, I think, the thing that I've discovered again, or tapped into again, or I don't even know what the words are, that I wanted to share with you, just in case, for whatever reason, this series of classes has, you know, just slipped off your radar, or is not something that you would even consider, or whatever. I wanted to just tell you what this was for me, because there are so many tools that we give in the classes that help you get through some of the things that you just can't get through with therapy. You know, like I have so many stories, I can't even remember them because they're so common, right? Where I'll begin a session and I'll just ask, hey, is there another being in there with you? And it's a yes, and we clear that being, and literally that problem is gone. Like, that's how quick these tools are. So, I mean, there's those kind of scenarios. There's the other kind of scenarios where, you know, somebody will be afraid of entities, and you'll say, well, are you willing to be the dominant entity? And they're not. And that is showing up all over their life where they're not willing to be the dominant entity. And so by dealing with, the entity problem, you then empower the person to show up in the rest of their life. So there's those facets of this work too, and then all the different kinds of beings. I'll tell you a quick story about that. There's beings, groups of beings called inculcated entities, which is when they get like mashed up with your being. And when you are aware, when you have a hyper awareness around a thing, so apparently I'm incredibly aware of inculcated entities, for example, things will occur. So I kept getting these recurring headaches for almost 3 years. And literally they've just changed. Oh, fuck yeah. They just changed this last training. So I just redid my certification, my facilitator training and my advanced entity training this year, last month, I think. And my recurring headaches just changed last month. But guess what I changed? I found out 2 pieces of information. One, when you have denied your ability with entities for a really, really long time, you'll have a backlog of entity activity that you need to deal with. The second thing is, if you don't do regular office hours and allow them to download and allow that space for it in the beginning, that backlog will keep backing up and you'll get seriously, seriously intense things going on with your body. So I was at the end of my rope with these headaches because it's been the last 3 years that it, you know, and I would attribute it to like hangover, but I would get the headaches without drinking. Same headache, you know. So finally, like, I don't know, 4 months ago, I got really aggressive and I was like, okay, this has to change because I'm living on Advil and aspirin like half the time. So, you know, there's a thing called the migraine process in the body of work that is Access. So I had somebody send that to me and I was reading it and I was like, a piece of what was going on really, really hit me. And it was this inculcated entity thing. And so I really got present with the energy and the energy of the headache. And I'm like, truth, am I aware? Yes. Is this inculcated entities? Yes. And I started doing the clearing process for inculcated entities. And the headache started changing. But it still sort of carried on. And so then fast forward to last month when I took this training and I heard that information about a backlog of entity activity. And I was like, oh, fuck, that's me. I've spent lifetimes ignoring my spirit awareness. So I made a commitment to myself to spend time every day with that 20 minutes a day of like downloading, just allowing the entities around me to just download everything, which turns out is like so nourishing and so fun. It's like not only is it not scary, it's like life-giving. And I have not had a headache since, after 3 years of constant headaches. And that is the kind of change that's available when you, and here's the thing about alcohol, so let's just add that to, when you drink to a certain point, you are expanding your awareness. After a certain point, you're going into unconsciousness. But so yeah, so like if you add the alcohol, then you're even more aware. So anyway, I have so many stories, but the bigger theme I really wanted to share with you guys was like the depth to which this body of work has changed things for me. And it's got, like, if you've got things going on in your life and in your body that you seem to have used every tool that you can possibly think of and it still hasn't changed, you may want to consider that you are more aware of the spirit world than you've ever acknowledged. And you may want to consider deepening your knowledge of that and deepening your practice with that and see if that would create a greater world for you. There is an ease and a joy and a glory truly available if you're willing to choose it. And for me, this body of work has facilitated access to that in a way that nothing else ever has. So you're deeply invited to any of my classes, any of Shannon O'Hara's classes, accessconsciousness.com, talktotheentities.com, accessconsciousness.com/Christel Crawford if you want to come to mine. I'm doing an intro, at least as of the recording of this video. I've got one tomorrow night. I've got one every month after that, and I'll be doing some beginning live classes soon. So if this was a gift to you and you know friends that have been struggling with this, please pass this along to them. And I'm so grateful for you guys, and thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you so much for being here and being on the planet with me. What else is truly possible? I'll see you guys next week.